Mark Magsayo was able to show tremendous heart and score a vicious knockout in a comeback from behind type of fight. And Manny Pacquiao, the legend, the 8th Division World Champion, gets defeated by Yordenis Ugas over a 12-round decision. Before we get down into the fight, make sure you click that like, subscribe button, and the notification bell to stay up to date on the latest video drops on this channel. Again, it doesn't take much to hit that like and subscribe button for some of the most unbiased boxing commentary you'll find on YouTube. Nevertheless, let's get right down to it. So Mark Magsayo wasn't looking too hot after he had scored a knockdown over Julio Ceja. Julio Ceja himself, even though he had gotten up from round 1 after being knocked down by Magsayo, was able to put in some work and was able to drop Magsayo in the 5th round. Not too long after putting Magsayo down, he almost started cruising, and that's when Magsayo started picking up his pace as well. Don't get me wrong, Ceja was attacking and bludgeoning Magsayo's body. I think that was what ultimately slowed him down as well. And it could have been part of his game plan to allow Ceja to wear himself out, because that has happened multiple times before, where he starts off like a firecracker and just tends to fade as the fight goes on. I don't know if it's complacency, I don't know if it's his stamina, but he does seem to do that quite frequently in his fights. And I think that's something Freddie Roach and Magsayo's team were aware of, and ultimately it played off, because come the 10th round, Mark Magsayo not only had a burst of energy that he was conserving, but his power was still there, and he was able to brutalize and ultimately put Ceja on his back in one of the most brutal knockouts and potential knockout of the year. Do I see Mark Magsayo as a threat at 126? He is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of talent. He's very fast. He knows how to counter. He has a solid punch that lasts throughout the entirety of the fight, and he does seem to have a decent tank. But you got other champions in the division like Emmanuel Navarrete, Kit Galahad. All these fighters and champions in the top 10 are really going to be difficult fights, because Julio Ceja, although he is talented, although he is a good fighter and a former champion himself, he doesn't have the durability of the aforementioned names, and his best campaigns were at 122, not 126. So I can't wait to see Mark Magsayo mix it up with the top names in the weight division. I think he'll give them a solid run for their money. I think that he could potentially beat some of them. I definitely don't doubt him. I just think that right now, however, there's no clarity on whether he would beat every single one of them. But I do want to see Mark Magsayo get stepped up and hopefully land a title shot against one of the world champions. Magsayo would definitely make for some fun fights, and he could potentially be a Filipino world champion once again. Moving on to the main title fight, Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas scores and takes home a unanimous decision over 12, with the scorecards of 115 to 113, 116 to 112, twice over, and ultimately potentially retiring Manny Pacquiao. Yordenis Ugas, although he is a decent fighter, I think that not only the size difference was a factor in this victory, but I also think that Manny Pacquiao's age is finally taking a toll. If you look at Manny Pacquiao's footwork, it wasn't there. It was damn near non-existent. He wasn't moving and zipping around the ring like he used to. His stamina is still there, but his power has faded. His hand speed is still somewhat there, but he is just a shell of what he once was. And I think Ugas, not trying to take anything away from his victory, but we cannot act as if this was a tip-top rare form Manny Pacquiao that we used to see in yesteryear. Not only that, but Manny Pacquiao had not fought in a little bit over 2 years, and that's some considerable amount of time, especially for a fighter in his age range. Granted, Yordenis Ugas is not that much younger, but Pacquiao has had a tremendous and brutal career throughout his boxing endeavor. I think that Yordenis Ugas did pretty well, and I think moving forward he would probably go after either Spence or Crawford, which, by the way, was pretty cool that the PBC actually acknowledged Terence Crawford for once on their graphics when speaking about the welterweight division, and I think that's a step in the right direction. As minor and as small as that may sound, I think that is proper. Either way, I think Yordenis Ugas would lose to Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., potentially some other top welterweights, but it was just his night this time around. He did work solidly behind a good jab. He was able to land with a straight right. He did a lot of solid things in there. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, didn't seem to have a response, not very much adjustment to it, and if he tried to adjust, it just didn't reflect. I think his age is definitely showing, and I think Manny Pacquiao should definitely retire. I think things do happen for a reason, and if it were Errol Spence Jr. in there, he would have completely bludgeoned Pacquiao, at least this version of Pacquiao. The Pacquiao of yesteryear, the Margarito Pacquiao, etc., would have been a completely different story, but what we have now would not pose much of an issue for someone the likes of Errol Spence Jr. I've made a video and I've talked extensively on that topic on what exactly it would mean for someone like Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. to defeat a Manny Pacquiao at his age and at this point in his career. And if you guys want to check that out, make sure you click on the link that will show up somewhere on the screen for this video. But nevertheless, I really hope Pacquiao retires. I think that the way he operates at an elite level, somebody of his caliber, a name that carries as much weight as his, would be required to fight at that level consistently, and we've just seen that even though Yordenis Ugas again is deserving of this victory and is just a notch or two below that level, he was able to beat Pacquiao because Pacquiao is just not the fighter he once was. No disrespect to the living legend, I'm sure we all wish him well, but I think it's time to hang him up, champ. Anyway guys, let me know what you guys thought about the fights. Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao continue fighting? Do you think Yordenis Ugas was the rightful winner? Do you think Ugas has a shot at beating the likes of Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr.? And what do you guys think about Mark Magsayo? Is he world champion material? And which fight at 126 would you like to see him in next? Like always, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to join the ranks of the notification squad. Like always, this is Shay, K&B, signing out.